Miller. I'm the CIO at UCLA Anderson. I found my way at UCLA's campus about 4.5 years ago. And then prior to that, I was the acting CIO and CISO at Columbia Business School in New York. Part of the conversations I'm having within the ecosystems of talking to startups is sometimes I find solutions to problems that I didn't know exist, right? So within the first year, I would tell you my number one pain point was always, oh no, the dean's been hacked, the dean's been hacked. And that call would always come in on the weekend or a Friday after 5, right? And everybody was freaking out and what do we have to change? And, at the end of the day, 98% of the time, it really wasn't anything to worry about. It was just somebody being spoofed, but someone got a text or someone got a message and someone responded because they just weren't paying attention or they didn't know any better. And it just set off this whole chain reaction of things that we really didn't need to address, but it's just because A, not enough organizational awareness, and B, again, because people will be spoofed, because people will be impersonated, and right, it's just something that every organization has to deal with. I think in the 4.5 years I've been at UCLA, we've improved dramatically over people being able to spot what an impersonation is, but it's not perfect. It still relies on people. And even if we tie this back to AI for a second, we know that the bad guys are getting better and that the typos come out of their emails with tools like ChatGPT. So they're getting harder for people to figure it out in the first place. What else can we enter into the foray so that the spoofing and the impersonations, especially on the high value targets, are at least a little diminished so we have a little bit more of a fighting chance? When I was first introduced to the premise of Picnic, again, it's something that's unique. I don't know of a lot of other companies or any other companies against whom you're competing in this space. Right? I know there's a ton of data brokers. I know as someone who spends a little time in InfoSec and will tend to try and hunt people down for whatever reasons because I'll come up or I want to see where they live or whatever the case may be. There's a ton of public information available on everybody, right? So to the extent there's a tool that can go out and get rid of as much of that noise as you can, and make your footprint online as quiet as possible. Again, that's just something of value because there is nothing else that's going to do that. And as individuals, busy individuals, the high value targets, nobody's got the time and nobody's going to make the time to go out and do this work on their own. Even if it's something that comes through the political system and we're given the ability to do that, I think from just a time perspective alone, high value targets aren't going to take that time to eliminate that footprint, or most of them won't. So having a tool that's able to do that for you is something that has a value to it for sure. I think as security professionals, the more that we can do proactively, the better. Many of the tools we have are reactive and happen after the fact. Right? The less noise I have in my environment, the less things that come in, the less things that I can get up front before I have to react to them, the better. And in this case, Picnic plays in that space, right? If you're taking down somebody's information that's ultimately going to turn into a social engineering attack, then that's a proactive measure. And to the extent I can get as much as I can that way, I'd be happy to do that. I think there's a huge benefit that we haven't even really scratched the surface with on that side of things. Just again, from a personal hygiene perspective, right? If I look at those high value targets, whether it's a work credential or a personal credential, I don't think those entities, those individuals, right, spend any time or as much time on their personal as they do on their work. I think it's just a gap. Generally speaking, in individuals' own personal security journeys, right, that Picnic is addressing here. I've met a lot of cool entrepreneurs. I've met a lot of cool companies. I've implemented a lot of technologies that maybe my peers haven't heard about because either that's just not the way that they want to approach the way that they're doing their business, or the hands that they've been dealt are a little different. But for me, it's made this ride a lot of fun. It's made this job a lot of fun. And as I said, at the end of the day, I've bought some neat products and implemented a lot of cool technologies that I think specifically in the cybersecurity space have made a difference. They add defense in depth. They really supplement and complement each other very well, just to make us a more secure ecosystem.